Well, welcome back, everyone, to episode number 5. We made it to number 5 of I Am Nylis, and I'm your host, Nylis. So, in this episode, we're going to be covering a couple different things. I think we have 4 segments this time. Going to be talking about construction everywhere. Going to be talking about interesting business life. Going to be talking a little bit in the gig economy about Uber again, just a bit. And the big one tonight is talking about participation and volunteerism. I'm covering that again. It's really kind of getting into a sore spot, so I decided to talk about it some more. And that's our show for tonight, and or whenever you're listening to us. And after the break, we'll roll right into the first segment. And it's great to have you as listeners. I'm really happy to see the listener base grow. Again, I want to touch one more time to let you know that we are on Facebook, facebook.com/IamNylis, Twitter at IamNylis, and email info@IamNylis.com. So after the break, we'll get rolling. While every shelter pet is unique, some love a good game of fetch. Others would rather snuggle together on the couch. However, there is one thing that they all have in common. They're all pure love. Right now, millions of pets in shelters and rescues across the country are waiting to be adopted. My family adopted 3 dogs, 2 cats, and we just love them all, and we love to give them a special place, and they're special in our hearts. So if you're thinking about getting a pet this holiday season, make sure to visit the shelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, Maddie's Fund, and the Humane Society of America. Well, welcome everyone. This is, of course, I Am Nylis, and this is my segment, the one I always name after the show, I Am Nylis. And today's topic that's on my mind, because that's what I do, I like to talk about what's on my mind. I drive around a lot and doing my gig economy stuff. And this time of year, we're in the springtime / almost summer, and this time of year road construction is pretty prevalent. Now everybody knows and hates road construction, but driving around today, I was noticing all the different areas where they were doing road construction and what they were doing, and just got to pay attention to what was actually being done. And since it was kind of towards the end of the business day, I was trying to pay attention to just how many places actually had workers at it. And I'm not one to say that I understand how the roads people in the city and they figure out where they're going to do all the work, or the construction companies that are trying to divvy up all the spots. And I'm sure everybody might agree with me as to there is so many construction areas and so few construction crews actually working on them. They work on certain areas, and they get to a certain point and they move to another area and they work on that area and do something at that one and get it to a certain point and move to the next one because they have to stop and wait. I understand that the concrete has to dry before they can move on and do some other things. Things like that you can understand, but when you see road torn up and there's just not much done, you begin to wonder. I mean, I do. I begin to wonder, did they move on to something else? For what reason? It could have been rain, could have been bad weather, and they had to stop that day, and the next day they come to work and their boss says, nope, we got to work over here and work on this section. And I guess that's to keep the road crews going. That's the only explanation I can come up with. that to keep them busy working, they have to rotate around to the different areas and keep things moving. Otherwise, they're going to be stopped dead in their tracks. If they only tore up and tried to finish a few areas, I suppose if the rain or weather or something like that stopped them, they wouldn't be able to. They wouldn't be able to continue working. But I don't know. It just gets on our nerves where you're forced down to one lane of traffic from three. You're going through and you're looking around. I remember last year it was really bad on one of our main drags, Minnesota Avenue. We had one lane going through there, and it was something we just couldn't figure out what was going on. And yeah, I am one of those that wish that they would work 24 hours. They'd rotate their crews around, and if the weather's decent, they should be working 24/7 on those areas, and one thing after the next, and pushing through and making it happen. Now, I did see in some areas, like bigger cities, I know in the bigger cities you guys have different things that you do. Like they do work at night, and I have seen, like down in Omaha, they were working at night versus working during the day. But here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, I don't think they work at night here. At least I haven't seen them work at night. If they do, it would be something that's kind of critical, I guess. But I haven't ever seen that in 5 years or so that I've been back to South Dakota. Anybody that can write me at info@iamnylis.com, or message me on Facebook at iamnylis.com, or on Twitter there. Send me a tweet and let me know if you're from around this area, or if you're from wherever you're from. Let us know about things like that. Topic today, construction. So let us know in your area. Does it bother you? Do you worry about it? Do you just take a little extra time to get to where you're going? Know it's going to be there. It's inevitable. What do you do when you see all that road construction? Do you get frustrated? Does it make you just want to scream sometimes? Or are you the person that's super calm and just take it with a grain of salt? Oh, well. I mean, I'm not super calm, but I'm also not flipping out super mad. I may get mad at the drivers that seem to think that when the cones are up, they lose all knowledge of how to drive. That's a big thing. But let us know one of those mediums and what you're thinking, and we'll get back on that subject sometime, or if you have a post, and we'll answer it there on the Facebook page. And we'll just have to suffer through these construction. So there is, I'm sure in every area there's some jokes and sayings and stuff like that, but sometimes in South Dakota we have two seasons. We have winter and we have orange cone season. So it's either one or the other. And heck, even sometimes in the winter you see the orange cones out there and they're working. So all depends. We'll just suffer through and make it happen. So yeah, that's pretty much all I had on this subject. And like I said, you can always write in and let us know what you think. And I'm going to take a break here for a second, and just want to throw another shout out to us-specialties.com. They're doing a lot of great things with the caps and flags and stuff like that for the veterans. Take a look and see what you think. And we'll be back after the break. Well, welcome back, everyone. This segment I'm just going to call, Wow, what an interesting business life. Because, a lot of us have done a lot of things in our life. We've done a lot of different things. We work for different companies. Especially if you're a businessman, you probably started and closed a few businesses if you've been through the gamut. And I tell you, I was going through some stuff, getting ready for my daughter's graduation and cleaning the garage, and found a few business cards, old ones, and And I looked around and I found a few more, and next thing you know, I had a whole slew of them, including present-day business cards. And from companies I helped start, companies I helped run, companies I was at when they closed. Just been a whole wide range of different things. I know I have more cards out there, and I did post something on our Facebook page, which is, by the way, facebook.com/IamNylis, or our Twitter account @IamNylis. Or you can always reach me at email at info@IamNylis.com. The webpage isn't up and running yet, but we'll be pointing that probably to the podcast for now until we have some content of our own. But yeah, I got a little cold. Sorry for the sniffles. So so I'm looking at all these business cards, and I'm seeing things like Dakota Domes Inc. Oh my gosh, that was a long time ago. And working at NATO as a contractor, I was also stationed there in the military. So that's an amazing thing. A lot of stuff from Germany. Well, you might expect that. If you look through the pictures of those cards, you'll see a lot of German addresses on several of them. Well, that's because I lived over 25 years in Europe, and I had a break in service between my two military service terms of 9 years. And during those 9 years, I did a lot of businesses, worked with a lot of businesses, and did a lot of things. So, yeah, when you reminisce back, the old Surf One days. Oh my goodness, that was some of the best times actually. Silentech Communications GmbH and Surf One GmbH, which was a product that later became a company. So that changed the name of the company to match the product. But yeah, that's a lot of old stuff way back in the day. There's a lot of stuff that memories when you're going through and cleaning stuff out, and it does bring up a lot of things in your mind, and you're like, wow, the things I've been through. If I only wrote a book. But instead of writing a book, I went out and started a podcast so I could talk about things. Yeah, so that'll be definitely something that you all should take a look at. And out on the Facebook page, I posted that link with a picture and stuff. But hey, if y'all go out there and post some pictures of some old business cards, that's kind of neat to look back in time, and we definitely can relate, I tell you. So that was just a short little segment I wanted to throw in there, and we're going to be back after a short break, possibly. And we'll continue with the show. Well, welcome back, everyone. This is I Am Nylis. And you can reach us at info@IamNylis.com, facebook.com/IamNylis, or @IamNylis on Twitter. All right, well, I wanted to talk to everyone a little bit about Uber and apologize again. I did have a retraction in my episode 4 about Uber coming to South Dakota, and South Dakota being the last state in the nation. I should have done a little bit better research. I had talked to Uber representative at one of the hubs, and he confirmed it and said, yeah, you're the last one. But we are not the last one. We're like number 42 or 43 in the nation. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. Other than that, the news is that they still haven't turned it on yet. So we're another week down and waiting on Uber to start here in South Dakota pretty feverishly. There's lots of riders that want to try it out. There's lots of drivers that want to try it out. Those of us that have driven Uber before, we're just waiting for it to turn on so we can flip the switch and go. But yeah, so that's the big thing with Uber right now here in Sioux Falls area. They did turn the surge pricing back on for Uber in Omaha, where they had the floods and state of emergency. Nebraska has rules that if the governor declares a state of emergency, all the surge prices need to be turned off. So price gouging law and stuff like that. Although when they had Berkshire Hathaway, there was hotels went up 300%, 400%, 500%, and a lot of things went up really high prices. But yeah, Uber and Lyft, they had to turn their stuff off though. And Lyft also, as far as I know, Lyft is turned back on, but we haven't seen any Lyft surges down there or prime times down there. So things are starting to get back to normal down in the Omaha area in Nebraska. I know we have listeners from all over the world, but it's a struggle. The struggle is real here in the Midwest. So, yeah, I just wanted to touch on that a little bit for our gig economy. I didn't want to spend too much time on that this episode. We got a lot of other things to talk about, so we're going to move on after the break. We're going to come back and talk about another segment. And again, I'd like to throw out a shout out to us-specialties.com for all their great hats and flags and what they do for the veterans. So we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everyone. This is I Am Nylis, and I am Nylis. So this little segment I want to call Volunteerism and Social Participation. I want to talk a little bit about people's participation in organizations, groups, different types of functions, how they participate, and volunteerism for volunteering for different either activities or organizations and this kind of thing. So everybody may just kind of shake their head, yeah, well, you know, there was a generation, it was way before my generation, that they managed to get out there and they managed to do a lot of things amongst working and participating and going out there and being able to be a part of that VFW or that Fraternal Order of the Eagles or that American Legion post or any of those kind of activities, whether it's the Elks or whatever lodge it was or whatever type of activity, whether it was at this high school and volunteering for helping out in the concession stand and helping out, you know, on the field and maybe being a coach, maybe being a referee. They managed all that as well as their job, as well as caring for their people, you know, their family and stuff like that. And the funny thing is the family got involved as well. I mean, they managed to get their kids involved in volunteering and helping out, and if they weren't playing football, they were helping out in the stands or doing different things. And a lot of that generation is getting so old now, and their kids that were taught and brought up to volunteer and help with things, those kids are getting older, and they seem to have not have passed on as much of this. And then their kids, there's another generation in there, are definitely just not the volunteer types. It is so hard. And I know I've talked about this before, volunteerism and all that, but it just keeps coming up because every place I go, everything I help out with, it seems like people aren't there to help. People find 100 excuses for other things that are going on. And I understand people's lives move and things happen, but my gosh, I'd sit there and I tried to bend over backwards for years, and no matter what, my family suffered a lot of times where I probably should have been there. And I volunteered for this or volunteered for that and trying to make sure that it ran and make sure we had enough people and got my family involved a lot of times when they didn't really want to do it. But hey, let's go. We got to do this. We got to make sure we have enough people. And I know I've talked about it before, but it just, it's been getting me lately because it seems like I am starting to burn out on volunteering myself. And I feel super bad about this. I have a lot of stuff going on too, but there's some things that I've had to prioritize over volunteering and going and taking care of business. But it's been for the family. I had to do this to support my family. Whether it was driving Lyft and Uber or whatever, and to earn some money to be able to pay some bills or get something for the kids that they needed. They're graduated and things are happening. And I felt really bad for the organization. But then as this happened once or twice, I started to feel less bad about it. And I started to realize what's going on. And that feeling that my generation, some of my generation is having, a lot of my generation's having, and a lot of these other generations that are down below us, that are up and coming, they're feeling they have to do things to support their family. If the kid has a football game or a basketball game or whatever the case may be, that will trump anything. And we get along with that, and yes, that's true. But back in the day, I mean, Mom would either go volunteer and have to help the auxiliary do something, and Dad would go to the game and make sure that son got whatever and made sure that all happened. Or the other way around, the mom would make sure that the son got to the game or whatever, and the father would go and take care of business, what had to be done for the group that he was belonged to. And it seems like they organized their whole schedule around the schedule of the organizations that they participated in. They actually tried to schedule things around that. And today people just aren't doing that. They're not organizing their schedule around what the other schedule is and trying to rearrange it, trying to make sure that they're available to help out. It's just immediately, I got this to do. There's no way to around it. Or I just have this to do and I'm going to do it. Or they just don't even say anything. They don't even say that they can't be there. They don't do anything. They don't show up. And then they feel bad about that. I'm sure this is what's happening. And then they feel bad about, I just can't devote enough time. And so then they stop coming to the organization. Then they stop paying their dues, or they stop supporting financially the organization, and the membership trails off. And I see that happening in every single organization I volunteer and help out. Every single one. And one of the other things that we see, or that I see, I think what's happening is a lot of people tend to be into all the material things that are happening. Talking to a friend, and he agrees with me that there's just too much materialism, and we're getting ourselves into more debt, and so we're working more. You're not working just the 40 hours. You're probably out working a part-time job or doing some other things to earn more money to try to pay for all those materialistic things that we keep acquiring and that the family seems to think they need. And we go out there and we have to work, instead of 40 hours, we're working 70 or more, trying to raise enough money to pay for all this stuff. And then you don't have time to volunteer because you're working your butt off from night to day and day to night, and you just don't have time. But then there's also the other side of the fence, and I think my friend also was making a point to me the other day that it's also, there's a lot of people that, and I'm going to use the L word, lazy. We see it a lot in our generation, and even the younger generations, where we would call it lazy, they would call it just relaxing. I can't imagine relaxing that much. Sitting on the couch, watching 3, 4, 5 shows, and going to bed and say, oh, I'm exhausted, I need to go to bed. Really? Try going out and working for those 8 hours you were sitting on the couch, or whatever hours you were sitting on the couch. And for them to sit down and relax and watch a show, and they're all into it, and they're watching it, and there's all these series that people are just so into, they have to watch them every week, and they can't miss it. And believe it or not, they won't volunteer and won't do stuff because their show's on. Even though we have 100 different ways to record things or watch them again, or watch them on Netflix, or watch them on Hulu, or watch them on one of these other abilities to watch it or record it or do something, they still feel they have to watch it when it comes out. They have to watch whatever, there's a lot of that going on too. And I really think that that's part of the problem as well, is that people, they just have a different priority than the older generations had. And sometimes it makes me sad to see that, that it's going that way. It's going to get to a point where these tried and true organizations like the American Legion, the VFW, DAV, many of these government, congressional chartered organizations are going to collapse. I mean, some of these organizations were so strong. I mean, 30 years ago, the American Legion, not even 30 years ago, the American Legion had probably 3.5 million people as members, and they're below 2 million now. And I don't believe that all those members being gone are because they're passing away either. It's a lot of memberships that aren't renewing. Our little American Legion post in Brandon, we had 104 members just 2 years ago. Last year we dropped to 80 something, and this year we're barely, our goal is 80, I think it's 85, and we're right near it, close to it, but I don't even know if we've actually hit the 85 yet. Just because people aren't paying. They're not paying their dues and don't really care about it, and yeah, it's not really important. There's a lot of other important things in their life. Well, it's all around just difficult. It's difficult for everybody that is actually trying to participate. It's difficult for those people that are participating and seeing less and less people help out, and they're having to do more and more, and they're getting burnt out. There's different ones. We've seen people in our own organization that left practically for 2 years. They didn't do anything or more, and they've just started to come back and started to do things again, and then they get involved, and then there's other people that stop coming again and stop helping. And it's one of these vicious cycles. Just sometimes I wish that people would get involved and just remain involved at some level they can sustain, and ramp up once in a while when there's some big activity going on. It actually kind of, I think of what happens with the circus every year. The circus has been going, I think this was our 78th year in a row. 78th circus. And they need 300, 350, up to 400 people to volunteer each show for each show. And we do 9 shows. And in those 9 shows, of those 300 to 400 people that they need, I see 200 plus that are the same ones that help in almost every show. I myself, out of 9 shows, did 7 this year. The last 2, I just couldn't help anymore. I had something else going on. But I helped for 7 of the 9. And previous years, I helped at least, 7 or so. I missed 1 or 2 because the daughter had a turkey feed or something for the turkey supper, I guess that's what it was called, for the band, and we helped out there and participated in that as well as doing the other. And it was tiring, but we did it. So I really hope that all of you listeners out there that stuck through and listened to all this, get out there, and I urge you to get out there and participate and try. And if you're a veteran, I urge you to help out a veterans organization and be a member if you're not already, and try to help that organization through membership, through participation once or twice a year. If that's all you can do, that's all you can do, but it will help them out immensely to get out there and help. So I thank you all for listening to this segment. And once again, I want to put a plug in for us-specialties.com and go out there and check out those hats and flags, what they got, and support them. We'll see you after the break. Well, once again, we completed another show. Episode 5 is on the wraps. This is a little wrap up of what we talked about. We talked about the construction everywhere. We talked about life, business life, and some interesting little tidbits there. And we talked about a little bit about Uber, and that they're still not here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They're still not in South Dakota this week, and we expected them earlier. Then we talked about a lot about volunteerism and participation, and we finished up with that. I think we've hit that subject pretty hard in a couple episodes, so we're pretty much done with that for now. And I want to thank everyone for listening. It's been great having you here. I really would love to hear from you. And again, you can send me an email at info@iamnylis.com, Twitter @IamNylis, and Facebook.com/IamNylis. Of course, that's all one word, and Nylis is spelled Nylis, in case you didn't know. And I appreciate you, as I said before, and I hope to hear from you, whether via Facebook, email, or Twitter. And I hope you all visit one of our sponsors there, us-specialties.com. They got some great stuff out there. Hats and stuff, and then flags and things like that. So, have a good day or night, whatever you might be listening, and stay safe out there.